Hello everyone, this is SketchaLona episode 20. So just in case you're new to this series, my name is Jan. I've been living in Barcelona for, well, I think we're pushing towards a year, aren't we? 10-month mark right now. And out here, I have the opportunity to draw to my heart's content. Every day I spend time in my sketchbook at work when I can, but I'm also working on a comic book. I'm currently working on the THEE100s Anthology comic book project, which is a 6-page comic book with the theme Life in Space. It's been going pretty well. I'll be sure to show you a little bit of what I've already shown before, because we're kind of being reprimanded about showing too much, and I am guilty of wanting to show all that I've been up to in the past week. I'm currently at page 4. I've been doing a lot of writing today. I figured it was time to go outside and smell the fresh air, get a little bit of sun, because after last weekend's marathon art session, I got a bad case of a crick in the neck. My neck is hurting so much right now that I don't even know if it's the actual vertebra or bone or just the muscles, and it's spreading to my arm. It's not good. I used to work right next to that. I used to live right over there, right next to that hilltop. So I figure it's time to head back. After all, got a page to finish. So the always friendly Samurai Ox was kind enough to humor me into a friendly competition to see if we can finish our 6 pages for this anthology that we're working on. Oh Jesus, he just sent a picture. Oh God, I'm afraid to look. Let's see how far he is. He probably already inked page 5, and I have yet to lay down the pencils on 4. This is not going good. It's not going good at all. To get back to my Sunday work, I have got to get back home. It's about, from here, I'd say it's a good 30-minute walk. At the rate I'm walking, it's more like 40. That's okay. Need to get a little bit of exercise. So the writing I've been doing, the story has been kind of, well, the story was pretty much written from the start, but like there's little, as I'm drawing and putting stuff in, there's been some new developments, thinking about taking the ending towards a different direction, as I spoke about last week. But with the last page finished, and so page 3 really has a lot of sequential art, if you will. But the storytelling, because my story kind of spans a 300-year history of mankind venturing out of the solar system, you know, like a sort of history lesson of some sort. But because of that, there's no real character to hang your hat on as the reader. And so the storytelling I have on page 3 is very, well, it's sequential, but at the same, and there is, with the text that will be added, there will be somewhat of a red thread, you know, the explanation, but it's a collection of random images. That's kind of what they look like. Right? Which is cool, because I wanted something very different from what I was doing with with my comic book Phosphor, which is a science fiction adventure comic which has a truckload of characters after all. And so this is definitely very different from that. Because of that, because once I finished page 3, which I'm very happy with, once I finished it, you know, I was looking at it like, okay, so I've got this collection of images, looks pretty cool, like where this is going, but I kind of need to, you know, tie things together a little bit more, to have a little bit more of a thread. I need to stop for a second, take the ideas I had before, take the changes in the ending I was going to have, and really write down some dialogue to make sure there's a bit more of a flow to the story as it develops, as you're reading it. How can I say this without giving everything away? I already have given everything away. They all die, except for one ship. One ship makes it. It's like a slasher movie on a solar system scale. Like in the captions of mankind on Earth kind of turning its back on the mission they've sent into space. And one of the reasons is point blank, you know, it's hard to sustain any kind of project for hundreds and hundreds of years. I mean, I kind of thought about this as I was walking by the Sagrada Familia church in my neighborhood. Cue blatant excuse to use footage lying around on my phone, and because they've been building that thing for like 130 years. I mean, that's a serious undertaking, and people used to do that in the Middle Ages all the time when it came to building these massive cathedrals. You know, they would just stake out a century, you know. But like in this day and age, of course, it's a bit tricky. Because, you know, like in a democracy, it's one thing under the threat of war to have a friendly competition with a foreign power, like the space race in the 60s, and to be able to sustain that and like to free up the incredible amount of money it takes for such an undertaking. But like in this day and age, I'm kind of banking on countries in the Far East being able to make that jump and to have that kind of friendly competition rather than us. But even for them, you know, like what's going to happen over the next couple of 100 years? Will they still be around? And so, you know, things happen here on Earth, and so they kind of over a couple of decades kind of severed their ties. And since the mission was always intended to be self-sufficient, on the one hand, for the people out there beyond Jupiter, it kind of makes no difference. And on the other hand, it's of course, you know, kind of this heartache, like this like breakup, if you will, like to know people have got your back for hundreds of years, to know that you're given your life in service of this mission for all of mankind, and then mankind is kind of like, yeah, well, we're kind of tired paying for you guys, and we never signed up for this. This is something my great-great-grandfather wanted to do, and just to kind of let go. And so that's a point in the story where the captains of the ships decide to press on with their mission. They're self-sustaining as it is. But of course, not everyone, there's sort of a, it's not like there's a loss of belief in their duty, but like, because there is communication between Earth and the ships. So one of the things I figured that needed to happen to get to the ending I wanted to get to is for the ships to also turn their back on Earth. And one of the reasons they would want to do that is because all this political talk about no longer wanting to pay for space projects set up hundreds of years ago and wanting to tackle problems a little closer to home, that kind of resonates with some crews on some of the ships, and so they want to rebel. They're kind of like, well, why should I be out here? I've never even been to Earth, and like, why should I stay on this ship and have this life of hardship? And so so some of the captains, in order to maintain loyalty and maintain focus and for everyone to kind of stay in their place, they too decide to sever ties with Earth. Not so much by saying like, screw you guys, but kind of by turning off the communications so that everyone can kind of live in their little bubble on their little spaceship doing what they have to be, doing what they have to do. You know, it just makes things a little bit easier to set up a society sometimes when you can cut ties from the past. And then the example I thought of for that was the Dark Ages. You know, there were definitely over hundreds of years there was a loss of knowledge, but like there were also concerted efforts, and I wouldn't go so far as conspiracy, but there were definitely some concerted efforts by early church fathers of kind of like, you know, it'd be a lot easier to build this ideal society if we can just kind of, you know, if people wouldn't constantly be questioning us and wouldn't have all these ties to these pagan traditions, and we could just slip, you know. And so from a science fiction point of view for this story, I was kind of thinking along those lines, and like, well, like if I just kind of take that idea but put it in space, the big difference would be, even though they were very successful here on Earth, severing those ties, that's how we got the Dark Ages. But one of the differences, of course, would be that in space you can't exactly leave the country. You know, like once you're in, you're kind of like, there's no escape. It's not, and so that kind of made me think of countries like Cuba before, you know, Russia to some extent. Like, you have these countries which are basically like social projects, and these social projects don't always go well. You know, there's a lot of hardship. I mean, it's not easy setting up society from scratch. And so one of the things that they tend to do is kind of forbid people from leaving. And so in space, of course, you don't have to worry about that. Like, no one is getting off. No one has the option to cross borders because you're on the ship, you know. And so yeah, that's kind of like, this is kind of the reasoning. This is kind of my thought process on where I'm taking the story. Oh, look at that very sharp building. Man, wouldn't want to land on that one. I kind of want to bring humans in the story to make it more personal, to see them having conversations so you can kind of relate to people on the ship, to see the impact being severed from Earth has, but also to see Earth through their eyes, you know, from space, from having lived in space their entire lives. And from there, so that's page 4, and then on page 5, when I go the extreme and show you, you know, so that's kind of where the writing is going. And so now I have to head back home, put some pencils on paper, see what that damn Samurai Ox has been up to, see if I can still catch up. If I can finish another page today, I'm only one page behind. One page behind. In my story, little background to the visuals, they don't have energy force fields. So instead, to protect themselves from the rigors of interstellar space travel and to make sure they can sustain themselves, they collect asteroids and bubble wrap themselves, if that makes any sense. I thought it was a neat little visuals. Check out Ox's channel. And be sure to check out the Facebook page for the THEE100s Anthology project, where you can find loads more artists and loads more videos and art as everyone is gearing up to finishing their 6 pages, ready for the Kickstarter. Dare I say it. Hey, this is Jan, and thanks for coming over to check out my videos. In case you're new to this channel and you're wondering what it's all about, I'm a Dutch artist. I'm currently living in Barcelona. I've been living abroad for quite some time, and wherever I go, I like to fill up my sketchbooks.